Tasya sajjanayana harsham kuru vriddha pitamaha simham nadam vinatosche shankham dadmo pratapavan. Then the most powerful elder of the Kurus, the grand Bhīṣma, to encourage Duryodhana, roaring like a lion, blew his conch, giving joy to Duryodhana. Bhīṣma, the grand pillar of wisdom and righteousness in Mahabharata, was not just a warrior. He was the embodiment of discipline, duty, and divine knowledge. When the great battle of Kurukshetra was about to begin, Duryodhana's heart was restless. Even with 11 mighty divisions of soldiers behind him, he felt the tremor of fear. But then Bhīṣma, the grandsire, raised his mighty conch. That single sound echoed through the battlefield, shaking hearts, awakening courage, and filling Duryodhana with renewed confidence. Sanjay describes this moment saying, Tatsya sanjanayana harsham. Bhīṣma, cheering Duryodhana, blew his conch. It wasn't just a signal of war, it was a roar of reassurance. Bhīṣma was called Kuru Vriddha, the grand elder of Kuru dynasty. Older even than the oldest, wiser than the wisest, a man who renounced wealth, kingdom, and marriage, devoting his entire life to righteousness and knowledge. He was Pratapavan, glorious, powerful, and unmatched in skill and spirit. In his youth, Bhīṣma had once fought countless kings single-handedly, defeating them all to fulfill his duty to his brother. Even his guru Parshuram, the immortal warrior sage, could not overcome him in battle. Such was the strength born of purity, discipline, and faith. Later, as Bhīṣma lay on the bed of arrows, Lord Krishna said to Yudhishthira, "If you wish to learn about righteousness, ask him now, for the sun of wisdom is about to set." Bhīṣma was not just a warrior, he was the living scripture of Dharma itself. When Duryodhana tried to manipulate his teacher Dronacharya, the teacher remained silent, unmoved by his flattery. But Bhīṣma, the loving grand uncle, saw in Duryodhana not deceit, but the insecurity of a child. And so, moved by affection, he blew his conch once again. A thunderous symphonade, the roar of a lion. The sound struck terror into the hearts of enemy and filled his army with courage. Through that single act, Bhīṣma reminded the world, true strength is not in weapons or armies. It lies in courage born of love, duty, and inner righteousness. This was Bhīṣma, the grand elder, the teacher of Dharma, the soul whose roar still echoes through the ages, reminding us that righteousness is the mightiest power of all. Tataha shankhascha bhairyascha panavanaka gomukhaha sahasevabhya hanyanta sashabdastu mulo bhavata. Then conches, drums, cymbals, and horns were suddenly sounded. The noise was tumultuous. After Duryodhana's clever and unsettling words to Dronacharya, Bhīṣma, seeing his commander's anxiety, rose to encourage him. Out of affection, he blew his mighty conch with a roar like that of lion. The very act of Bhīṣma blowing conch was meant not to declare the war, but to uplift Duryodhana's spirit. Hearing Bhīṣma's conch, the Kaurava army misunderstood it as a signal of war. Immediately, conches, kettle drums, and horns were sounded across the battlefield. The air filled with clamorous symphony of war, a combination of sacred and fearsome sounds that seemed to merge heaven and earth. Each instrument carried its own meaning. The conch symbolized divine power and victory, often blown in adoration of God. The drums was beaten during auspicious occasions and battles. The gomukh, the cow horn, added to the grandeur of the moment, their sounds spiraling across the battlefield like waves of thunder. The warriors, full of enthusiasm and pride, responded instantaneously, each joining in with their instruments until the entire Kaurava army resounded with a single overwhelming roar. The noise became tumultuous, echoing in all directions, shaking the hearts of friends and foes alike. The battlefield of Kurukshetra now stood alive, its silence shattered, its air vibrating with the sound of impending war. The great conflict of Dharma and Adharma had begun to stir. Tatah shveterha yeryukte mahatisya nande sthito madhavaha pandavaschaiva tiyo shankho pradhatmatuha. Then, seated in a glorious chariot drawn by white horses, Madhav, Krishna, and the son of Pandu, Arjun, blew their divine conches. As the echoes of Bhīṣma's mighty conch fade across the sacred land of Kurukshetra, the battlefield falls silent for a brief, eternal moment. The Kauravas have signaled their readiness. Now all eyes turn to the other side, where the chariot of destiny stands. Arjun, the great warrior of Pandavas, sits beside the charioteer, none other than Lord Krishna himself. The chariot, a dazzling vision of divine craftsmanship, is yoked with the 4 white celestial horses. Radiant and pure, a gift from the Gandharva king Chitrarath. Though 100 of these divine horses were gifted to Arjun, 4 of the most magnificent and perfectly trained were chosen to lead him into this divine war between righteousness and ego. These were not ordinary horses. They could move between heaven and earth, symbolizing that this battle itself was more than earthly. The chariot too carried a story within it. Once the fire god Agni was afflicted with indigestion, his divine energy burned and burdened by the endless offering of ghee made by human rituals. To heal himself, he needed to consume the sacred herbs of Pandava forest. But Lord Indra, protector of that forest, extinguished every spark of fire with the rain. Then came Arjun, alongside Krishna. He helped Agni complete his sacred purpose, and in gratitude, Agni gifted Arjuna this chariot, a vehicle of brilliance and victory, its wheels strong and immense, its golden flag glimmering like lightning for miles. Upon that flag stood the emblem of Lord Hanuman, the mighty devotee of Lord Ram, whose presence infused the chariot with courage, bravery, and divine protection. This chariot became even more glorious because Lord Krishna himself sat upon it, guiding his beloved devotee. In that moment, the mortal and the divine were one, Nar and Narayan, man and God, student and master, united in purpose. Krishna, also called Madhav, the Lord of Lakshmi, the source of all prosperity, and Arjun, the greatest of Pandavas, symbolize the eternal message of the Gita that when righteousness stands with the divine, victory is certain, not merely of arms but of truth itself. And then, as the stillness of dawn hovered over Kurukshetra, Krishna and Arjun lifted their divine conches. With hearts steady and spirits pure, they blew them aloud, 2 sounds that shook heaven and earth, announcing not just the beginning of war, but the awakening of Dharma itself. Whenever there is Krishna, the Lord of Yoga, and whenever there is Arjun, the wielder of the Gandiv bow, there shall be victory, prosperity, and righteousness. This is not merely a verse, it is the eternal truth of life. Pāñcajanya Rishikesho Devadattam Dhananjaya Pauṇḍram Dagdhmo Mahashankham Bhīma Karma Vrkodaraha. Rishikesh, Krishna, blew the conch called Pāñcajanya. Arjun blew his Devadatta, and Bhīma, the doer of unbelievable extreme deeds, blew his great conch Pauṇḍra. The battlefield of Kurukshetra. The air is thick with tension. Warriors on both sides stand alert, eyes burning, hearts pounding. And then, from the sides of Pandava, rises the divine sound, the conch of Lord himself. Pāñcajanya Rishikesh, Lord Krishna, the master of all senses and the knower of every heart, lifts his conch Pāñcajanya. This is no ordinary conch. It was formed from the demon Pāñcajan, whom the Lord himself had slain.
And now the same conch, transformed by divinity, roars across the battlefield. Its sound is not of war, but of awakening of divine purpose. Next, Arjun, known as Dhananjay, the conqueror of wealth and ego, raises his mighty conch Devadatta, a gift from Indra himself. This conch once echoed through battles against demons and now calls upon righteousness to rise once again. Its sound thunders the hearts of Kauravas, not as mere noise, but as the vibration of destiny unfolding. And then the ground itself seems to tremble as Bhīma Karma, the doer of tremendous deeds, raises his enormous conch Pauṇḍra, the one who crushed demons like Hidimba and Baka, the one whose bodies held the fire of strength and fearlessness, now lets out the blast that shakes the heavens. Bhīma, the mighty Vrikodara, whose very stomach holds a fire that digests anything, food or fear, announces to the world that the righteousness has taken its stand. And so, with the sound of Pāñcajanya, Devadatta and Pauṇḍra, the message is clear. This is not merely a battle of bodies, but of Dharma and Adharma, of divine will and human choice. The conches of Lord Krishna, Arjun and Bhīma together proclaim, the war has begun not for victory but for truth.
Anantavijayam Raja Kunti Putro Yudhishthira Nakula Sahadevascha Sughosa and Manipushpaka. King Yudhishthira, the son of Kunti, blew his conch Anantavijaya. Nakula and Sahadeva blew their conches Sughosa and Manipushpaka. Arjun, Bhīma and Yudhishthira, the three were Kunti's sons, while Nakula and Sahadeva were Madri's sons. So the adjective Kunti Putra, Kunti's sons, has been used for Yudhishthira. Yudhishthira has been called a king because he was the ruler of half of the Indraprastha kingdom before exile, and according to the promise and the law, he should have been a king after living in exile for 12 years and 1 year incognito. Kashascha Parmeshvasaha Shikhandi cha Maharathaha Drishtadumnyo Viratascha Satyakischa Parajitaha Drupado Draupadeyascha Sarvasya Prithvipate Saubhadrascha Mahabahuha Shankhana Dadmuha Pruthaka Pruthaka. The great archer, the king of Kashi, and the mighty warrior Shikhandi, Drishtadumna, Virat, and unconquered Satyaki. Drupad, the sons of Draupadi, and the mighty armed son of Subhadra, all blew their respective conches from different sides. Shikhandi, a fearless warrior, was originally born as Princess Amba, daughter of King of Kashi, in previous life. Reborn as the daughter of King Drupad, she later attained manhood through the grace of a genie named Sthuna. Knowing this, Bhīṣma regarded Shikhandi as a woman and refused to fight him. Arjun, aware of this, strategically placed Shikhandi before Bhīṣma in battle, and taking advantage of Bhīṣma's restraint, shot arrows that finally brought Bhīṣma down. Arjun's son Abhimanyu displayed extraordinary bravery by penetrating Drona's complex military formation, the Chakravyuh. Though he fought heroically and killed many warriors, 6 Kauravas surrounded him deceitfully and attacked him together. Ultimately, Dushasan's son killed Abhimanyu by striking his head with a mace. Sanjaya, in his narration, mentioned only Bhīṣma from Kaurava's side, but described 18 warriors from Pandava's side, including Lord Krishna, Arjun, and Bhīma. This selective emphasis reflects Sanjaya's reverence for righteousness, as he preferred to glorify the virtuous Pandavas and their divine allies rather than dwell on unrighteous Kauravas. Saghosho dhartarashtranam rudhayani vedarayata nabhascha prithvim chaiva
tumulo vyanunadayana. That tumultuous sound echoing through the sky and the earth pierced the hearts of Dhritarashtra's sons, who had seized the kingdom by injustice. As the conches of the Pandava army echoed across Kurukshetra, their sound wasn't just noise, it was a force, thunderous, roaring, piercing through the sky, shaking the earth and striking fear into the hearts of Kauravas. This was no ordinary sound, it was the sound of truth challenging falsehood, of righteousness confronting arrogance. Each vibration carried the power of justice, the echo of Dharma itself. Sanjay, describing this moment to blind king Dhritarashtra, says the sound trembled the hearts of Kauravas. Why? Because the guilt trembles when faced with truth. Those who had seized the empire, who had deceived and oppressed, now felt their own unrighteousness reflected back in the sound of Pandava's conches. The Kaurava army was massive, 11 divisions strong, filled with mighty warriors, chariots and elephants. And yet, no one of their conch sounds could match the divine resonance of the Pandavas, because righteousness gives strength and unrighteousness weakens the heart. The Pandavas had ruled their kingdom with justice. Even after exile, their demand for their rightful share was fair, a call for balance, not vengeance. But Duryodhana, consumed by greed, stood for everything that was unjust. His heart, clouded by pride and deceit, was weak, filled with fear, masked as confidence. So when the conches of Pandavas blew, it wasn't merely sound. It was the vibration of Dharma, piercing the false power of adharma. Such is the nature of unrighteousness. It breeds fear even in the strongest. So the sound that shook the battlefield of Kurukshetra was not just a call to war. It was the sound of truth awakening, the sound of justice resounding through the universe.